it doesn't look like a typical comet where you see a beautiful tail of dust stretching away from the direction of the sun.
It began as a faint anomaly, a few lines of unexpected telemetry deep within NASA's tracking systems. At first, no one paid attention. The readings looked minor, just a slight deviation in velocity and orbital inclination. But as more data came in from the Deep Space Network, one fact became impossible to ignore. The interstellar object, known as 3I Atlas, had just changed its trajectory. For weeks, astronomers had been tracking the object as it moved harmlessly through the solar system. It was supposed to slingshot around the sun and continue into deep space, like other interstellar visitors before it. But late last night, the object did something no one expected. It slowed down, adjusted course, and began turning toward Earth. Within minutes, tracking centers around the world confirmed the same readings. Observatories in Hawaii, Spain, and Chile all recorded identical data. 3I Atlas had altered its path, not by chance, not by gravity, but by something else entirely. At NASA headquarters, the discovery set off an immediate chain reaction. Emergency meetings were called. Lines opened between NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the European Space Agency, and Harvard University's Center for Astrophysics. The data was verified again and again. Each confirmation made the situation more urgent.
In that sense, it looks as if this trajectory might have been planned and it's fine-tuned for a purpose.
The change wasn't subtle. The object's new trajectory placed it on a direct inbound course with the inner solar system, one that would take it close to Earth's orbital path within weeks. An emergency joint conference was scheduled between NASA and Harvard, classified as top priority. The topic of discussion: controlled motion. The acceleration patterns didn't match natural causes. This wasn't the result of solar radiation, gravity, or outgassing. It was consistent, directional, and deliberate, as if the object were under propulsion. As the news spread quietly through scientific channels, public awareness began to rise. Amateur astronomers confirmed unusual movement in the skies. Social media filled with speculation. Headlines hinted at something massive unfolding behind closed doors. But what few knew was how serious the situation had become. Data from the James Webb Space Telescope revealed even more disturbing details. The surface of 3I Atlas, once cold and irregular like a typical comet, was changing. It now reflected light in uniform intervals, with symmetrical ridges and straight lines visible across its body. Analysts studying the imagery noted that parts of the object appeared to be shifting, realigning, almost like panels rotating in formation. Whatever 3I Atlas was, it wasn't behaving like any natural object ever observed. As the hours passed, readings showed bursts of infrared energy radiating from its surface. Short, controlled emissions that matched known signatures of propulsion or power generation. The object wasn't being moved by the sun, it was moving itself. When this was confirmed, NASA raised its internal alert level. A secure communication was sent to the White House, the Pentagon, and the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. At the same time, Harvard's top astrophysicists began recalculating the object's projected path. The new results were staggering. 3I Atlas was no longer on a passing trajectory. Its current path would bring it within just a few 100,000 kilometers of Earth, closer than the Moon. An emergency global briefing was proposed. Harvard requested NASA's direct cooperation to unify all planetary observation efforts. Within hours, an unprecedented joint conference was convened. Behind closed doors, NASA and Harvard scientists presented their findings to defense officials and international agencies. The key takeaway was simple but chilling. The object had changed course intentionally. The motion followed an identifiable pattern, one that matched the mathematical precision of controlled flight.
That 3I Atlas, this strange interstellar visitor, is not just a comet, not just a frozen rock from another star system, but possibly some kind of alien technology.
In plain terms, 3I Atlas was not drifting. it was navigating. Outside the conference, the world was beginning to sense that something extraordinary was happening. News networks picked up on inconsistencies in NASA's public statements. Data that had once been freely available to amateur astronomers suddenly went offline. Live tracking feeds from major observatories were cut. For the first time in years, an interstellar object was being censored in real time. Internally, the discussion between NASA and Harvard shifted from science to contingency. If the trajectory continued tightening, 3I Atlas could enter a temporary capture orbit around Earth, a maneuver that would place it within direct observation range. The implications were enormous. If the object was under intelligent control, Earth was about to have its first deliberate interstellar visitor. As the Joint Task Force continued monitoring, the James Webb Telescope detected another anomaly. A faint emission of radio waves was pulsing from 3I Atlas every 53 minutes and 42 seconds. The same strange interval the object had been broadcasting months earlier. But this time, the signal was stronger, more complex, and clearly directed toward Earth.
A Harvard astrophysicist believes there's a strong likelihood this is a craft of alien origin.
Radio observatories scrambled to decode it. The signal wasn't random static. It carried structure, repetition, and embedded mathematical constants, pi, prime numbers, and Fibonacci sequences. These were patterns of communication, not chaos. At this point, NASA restricted all external communication about 3I Atlas. Access to tracking data was removed from public servers. Even internal staff were told to stop discussing it outside approved channels. The Harvard team, now fully integrated with NASA's Planetary Defense Division, worked non-stop to understand what was happening. By midnight, they discovered something new. 3I Atlas had released several smaller objects, faint, symmetrical, metallic bodies that moved alongside it in perfect formation. They weren't debris. They were controlled, synchronized, and evenly spaced around the main body like an escort. The readings shocked everyone involved. This wasn't the behavior of a comet. It was coordinated movement, precise and measured. The formation pattern resembled a geometric grid, something designed rather than formed by nature. The following morning, NASA called for a second emergency meeting. Representatives from the European Space Agency, the US military, and Harvard reconvened to review the new data. The tone was grim. Every model predicted the same outcome. 3I Atlas was aligning for an Earth intercept. By now, the object had slowed to a constant speed, roughly matching the average orbital velocity of Earth. That meant it was not only approaching, but adapting its movement to maintain proximity. Infrared sensors showed periodic flashes of energy, like short bursts of power output. Each burst corresponded to a subtle change in trajectory, as if the object were performing fine-tuned adjustments to target something specific. When one analyst compared the motion data with the object's line of sight, the results were unnerving. 3I Atlas was orienting itself directly toward Earth's night side, the side facing away from the sun. Speculation inside NASA reached fever pitch. Some believed it was scanning the planet. Others thought it might be slowing for orbital capture. A few quietly suggested a more terrifying possibility: contact. In the following hours, the object's radio emissions shifted frequency. The structured mathematical pulses gave way to something entirely new: broad-spectrum sound waves carrying harmonic modulation. The pattern was unmistakable. It wasn't just signaling, it was transmitting. Across multiple observatories, instruments detected the same phenomenon: the sound of deep, resonant frequencies rising and falling with rhythmic precision. Some described it as mechanical. Others said it sounded almost organic. Whatever it was It was coming directly from 3I Atlas, and it was aimed straight at Earth. At the same time, light readings from the James Webb Telescope showed 3I Atlas beginning to glow faintly in visible spectrum. The reflective panels across its surface appeared to open wider, like petals unfolding from a flower. The object was expanding, changing shape once again. By the time the emergency NASA-Harvard conference concluded, the consensus was clear. The object was no longer following a predictable path. It was actively responding to observation, emitting targeted signals, and altering its structure in real time. The official report was classified immediately. Public statements were sanitized, referring only to unexpected changes in trajectory and continuing analysis of an anomalous interstellar object. But leaked data told a very different story. According to those leaks, 3I Atlas was now on a trajectory that would bring it within 250,000 kilometers of Earth, closer than the Moon. Its speed had stabilized, its energy output was rising, and its transmissions were increasing in both intensity and complexity.